Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast. This is episode number 22 of our third season. My name is Keith. I'm here with my co-host, Doug, and we have a very special episode for you. It's been in the making for quite some time now, and we are very excited about it, especially since we had technical issues trying to get this thing going. I was wondering if it was even going to happen. But we're not going to do the nerd news. We're just going to launch into it. I want to introduce our guests that we have. We're doing an awesome interview today. And so we've got this special guest today who's been on our radar since we first met him and his wife at the Columbia, Missouri Retro Game Con back in May of this year. He is passionate and respected all throughout the retro video game collector community. He's a true expert on the Nintendo Legend of Zelda series, which you'll understand why when we talk about his name. And if you've ever stumbled across his content on YouTube, you'll know exactly why they call him Zelda Hat Guy. But there's more to him than just rubies and heart containers. He's also a seasoned technology professional with deep expertise in cybersecurity. He's also one of the voices behind our friends at the Mr. Right Way So Excited podcast panel, which is live most Thursday nights and streams on almost all the platforms that you would ever want to watch it on. But everyone, please welcome to the show, the one, the only, the legend, Zelda Hat Guy. How's it going, man?
Man, I feel like I'm looking around for somebody behind me. Is he talking about me? Like,
we like to do it. We like to do it big here, man. So, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm very excited to be on. It was a pleasure meeting you guys at Como this past May, and I'm super excited to jump on here with you.
Dude, it was so much fun, and we got to hang. It wasn't just like we just didn't go to con. Everybody, you can go back and check out the episode where we covered that. And I know, Neo Ness, Mr. Right Way, everybody's got like content on that. Retro Bear OG, who was on, he has content from there. All these, it was so cool getting everybody together. And then we had done a panel at the con as well. We got to do that, and then we hung out. We went to Witches and Wizards. And what's the other place, Doug? Is it Tokyo Room?
Tokyo Room.
That's
Tokyo
it.
Room?
Yeah. So we had fun, man. And so we got to like hang out with you and get to know you. And that's when like I knew absolutely we had to have you on. So thank you so much for being here. So Doug, I did the whole intro, man. I'm gonna have you kick this bad boy off. I'm gonna have you get going here.
Yeah, you did great. We got to start at the beginning. So I got to ask you, Zelda Hat, what's your gaming origin story? Or what is the first game that got you hooked? Your name might give it away, but it might also shock us as well. So
yeah, maybe.
That's a great question. So it's actually an interesting story. So when I was 4 years old, my mother took me to a babysitter, and she asked me if I wanted to play Nintendo, and I did not know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
So she sat me down in front of it, and she put in Mario Brothers 1.
Of course.
And from that day on, like, that was it. I knew every Christmas until I got one, or every birthday, any special occasion, I'll be like, "Mom, I want a Nintendo." And I didn't grow up with like a rich family, so
Sure.
I eventually got one. It was after the Super Nintendo came out, but I didn't even care. I was just
That's
so
awesome.
happy that I had one. But that moment was what made me, from then on, my passion has always been video games. From that small moment at a random babysitter's house that she almost didn't take me to.
Really?
The lady was unavailable, so she took me to this lady, and she had one. And from that day, video games became a huge passion of mine.
It's so cool. It's interesting how one little thing like that kind of sticks with you. And Doug and I have talked about this before. It's just like that one little moment when we were talking with Neo Ness. He said that he moved around a lot, and video games became the thing that helped him make friends.
Right.
And Doug and I just talk about, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to start this podcast, was it isn't just video games, whether you collect comic books, movies. It's so funny when you connect with people and you have something in common. I don't know. It's magical. I don't know what else to say. And when you get hooked by something like that, it's definitely something that, again, I don't even know the word for it. It's magical. So you talked about the Nintendo. It took you a little while to get to the Super Nintendo. What role did Zelda play in shaping your loving? So you started with Super Mario Bros. When were you first exposed to, like, where did the love of Zelda come into this in that timeline that you just pointed out to us?
It's interesting. So it was a Link to the Past. So what's funny is I got a Super Nintendo. Oh, it is. It's my favorite game.
It's my favorite one too.
People can come at me all they want. It's my favorite game.
Same.
Ocarina is great, but
yeah. Oh yeah, I'm with you.
So growing up, as I mentioned, I kind of got consoles late. After they had been discounted because the newest one had came out. So the 64 had came out. And the game that I really wanted was Super Metroid. But my parents had gotten me Zelda and Metroid, right? And for Christmas, like Christmas Eve or whatever, they're like, all right, you could open your Super Nintendo, you could open one game. And I'm like, please be Metroid, please be Metroid. But it was A Link to the Past. And I put it in and started playing it, and I was just like, this is incredible. I don't think I actually got to Super Metroid for a while. And while Super Metroid is probably my favorite, one of my favorite games of all time, I think it's my favorite Super Nintendo game, even over A Link to the Past. Playing Link to the Past, man, it just got me hooked. Even to this day, I still play it via randomizer. I don't know if you guys ever play randomizer.
Yeah.
Randomizer is my jam. It is my absolute jam.
And what is randomizer for people that may not know? You probably articulate it better than we could.
Yeah, so basically randomizer, what people have done is they allow you to basically generate a new ROM. They call it a seed of a game where they've randomized everything, and there's logic on the back end that makes every seed beatable, right? So the first chest you open might be Zora's Flippers instead of the lantern, right? And it completely changes your path through the game, but you can't ever soft lock. The logic that's behind it always ensures that every game you generate is beatable. So it's like playing the game for the first time all over again every time you play.
Replayability.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so awesome that you bring that up. Here, I'm equal opportunity. Like I'm not a collector. Doug, I don't think you'd categorize yourself a collector, even though my virtual background says otherwise. But, I've always been a player. Now, I think the closest I got to collecting was growing up. I was big into big PC box games. That was my thing. But we had all the consoles as well growing up. And so I got exposed to everything. But Doug and I always talk about when it comes to retro gaming, the Super Nintendo has such a special place in both of our hearts because there's just something about that console. And granted, we had Sega Genesis, I had a Sega CD, I had all of them. But there's just something about, even today, when I go back and play ROMs, I saw your video recently where you were talking about the EverDrive. Mm-hmm. And you are right. Something about just going back. But even when I go to my ROMs, as many of them as I have, it's the Super Nintendo library I seem to always go back to. There's something about that console. I don't know.
Console of all time, in my opinion. I'm a huge NES enthusiast, but to me, it's the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Or I feel like any of those is the correct answer when you say I leave more Super Nintendo just because nostalgia and just that library.
To me, it's the color palette and the graphics is always what blows my mind about it. And I always felt Genesis was so good, but I felt its color palette. And it has some great games. I love it. I don't want to knock it, but you put them side by side, especially when you have games that were released on both platforms, whether it was the WWE Raw. I remember that one specifically. I preferred it on Super Nintendo or Street Fighter even because it's just the color palette always seemed to pop a little bit more, even if it was at times maybe a little faster or little nuances. Sometimes they say, but Doug, I don't want to cut you out of this. It's your go-to because it's what you guys played, right? When you were growing up.
Yeah. We had so many games for it. There's something about the graphic style you said, and we've talked about that. The games that are coming out now, they don't need to have the best graphics. If we kind of go back to my love of the Super Nintendo and that graphic style, modern games can do that as well. So I'm just sitting here, I'm agreeing with everything. Super Nintendo, I agree, was one of my favorite, maybe the best console.
What I love is indie games today that use this Super Nintendo-esque graphics, like Stardew Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like all these indie games. What was it's not Super Nintendo-esque, but Dredge is one, but Diver Dave, that one has kind of that.
Yeah.
I love that they use the retro, the Terminator T2 that's coming out. That's the side scrolling. That's very, I don't know. It has Nintendo feel to me, Super Nintendo feel, just because of the color paletting and just the graphics. I love when indie developers throw back to that. It's just so cool. The Shredder's Revenge game they just did.
Oh my gosh,
it's so good. I love the retro look on games and that sort of thing. So, all right, Doug, you're up next, buddy. Hit him.
Yeah. Hey, we're in a really good path here with retro games. What is it about retro gaming that still resonates with you today, and what keeps you going back to those games?
I think a lot for me is that a lot of the games that we see today are inspired by what came before, right?
Yeah.
When you look at what is the standard for turn-based RPGs, at one point that was new and innovative, for RPGs like Chrono Trigger.
Great
right?
game.
When that game came out, it was new and innovative. And
Yeah.
it's, I think human beings in general are always interested in like history, and going back is essentially the history of video games. Like
Yeah.
collecting retro video games, these are like the antiques of the nerd world for me,
Mhm.
right? Is having these old video games.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing for me. And then just the history behind it, right? Like knowing how close that video games came to just crashing,
Mhm.
and there's sequence of events that actually brought it back is all in the history behind all these games.
Yeah, that's really
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah.
So the nostalgia piece and the historic
Mhm.
elements of how it came to be. And to me, I'm always fascinated by how video games, most people don't know, it has driven technology. You and I are in technology spaces, and
Yeah.
it's so funny. Like, I got into video games I only got into technology because of video games.
Yeah.
My dad would fix PCs and stuff. And so that's how I got into big box PCs. But it's funny because we didn't have PCs were expensive back in the
Oh
day.
my
And
gosh.
I
Yeah.
couldn't play what I wanted to. Like I wanted to play Wing Commander so bad, but my first chance playing it was renting it on the Super Nintendo because
Mhm.
they ported it, and it was
Yeah.
so good. So it's funny, like, but that how the technology drives one over the other when pushing for sound chips and graphic
Oh,
chips
that's
and that
very
sort of thing.
true.
So it's the history's cool. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
and even from the technology, like you'd mentioned, if you really go back, like from like a software engineering perspective, what they were able to do with very little, like a lot of the like NES games, they had 40 kilobytes to work
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
right? And it's
yeah,
in assembly, which is a very low level
yeah,
language. Like, have you ever tried to write Hello World in assembly?
yeah,
It's not. I mean, it's gnarly.
yeah,
So that to me, like when I think about it from like a software engineering perspective, it's
yeah.
incredible what these guys were able to do with so little.
It's fun to watch the documentaries on things like them making music for things like Final Fantasy and that. So like they actually would have to pull notes. Like they didn't have enough room on the cart memory wise to do certain things for sound or graphics. So they had to do all these crazy tricks to get it to
Yeah.
work. Whereas like nowadays, Doug and I talk about this, like Call of Duty. It's like, and almost a
Oh,
terabyte downloads, like
yeah.
800, like
Oh my
800,
gosh.
800 gig. And it's because they don't optimize anymore because they don't have to. Back
Nope.
then, you were very limited on your RAM space, your chipset capability. So you had to take what you had and you had to make the game work with very little. So you're paring down the textures and the sprites as much as you can. Well, now, they'll have a wall that is so far away on Call of Duty and it'll be like 4K resolution. And
Yeah.
that one texture alone is probably, 300,
Bigger than the
300
entire
some,
NES
yeah,
library. Yeah.
exactly.
Easily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a limb here, and I hope I don't trigger anybody, but I'm going to call our developers nowadays somewhat lazy. And give me a second to talk about that. You look at Super Nintendo, you look at all these games where we can't push out a patch, we can't fix bugs, we can't do this, we can't do that. My opinion is that we've worked, and I know, Keith, I've talked about this before, but
I know where you're going.
we've worked so hard in the past, in my opinion, to, yes, this game is 100% ready to go. Never have to release a bug, never have to fix anything. I just like the good old days, and I wanted to see what your thoughts were about the good old days of don't need a bug, don't need a patch, stuff like that.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I'm kind of like in the middle, right? So, on one hand, if you go and look at a lot of like, I don't know if you guys follow like speedrunning much,
A
but
little bit.
like a
Yeah.
lot of these crazy speedrun tricks are due to just bugs in the game that people are
Oh, okay.
exploiting,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of a catch-22. Like, yeah, if the games had a game-breaking bug in them, you kind of had to wait for them to release a new physical version of it and go buy, that version. Whereas now I can just, get a patch to fix a problem. So I see both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
It's I like the whole being able to get an online patch depending on what it's for. Now, if you just didn't want to finish the game and you want to sell me the game and then I got to wait for patches, I don't agree with that. But fixing game breaking bugs, you can't catch everything, especially in some of these like larger games, right? Like I can't even imagine having to wait to release an Elder Scrolls game until you found every bug. It would never come out.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't.
Yeah. I do think that when you look at the play testing model, so I think it's a variety of things. I think you are spot on in that the complexity is a huge factor in trying to catch as many things as you can just to get it stable. That's number one. Number two, we do have a mechanism that they didn't have back in the day, and they didn't have the luxury. If they launched a game with like game breaking, you're pulling cards off the shelf.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the margin of error and the threat to the company's bottom line was severe compared to now. They know now. I do believe, to your point, Doug, that breeds a bit of lax.
And I wasn't trying to call them
yeah.
lazy, I guess.
No,
but,
no, I get your point. You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that.
Yeah.
It's just more of, I think they know they can fall back to, we'll just patch it post release.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's no big deal. So I think it's a variety of those things. Between complexity, it's harder to catch. But I look at some of the things that we've seen in modern games. Like, look at the Cyberpunk launch.
Oh yeah.
Ugh, that was crazy. But look, it's amazing now. But if we would have waited till Cyberpunk was where it is now, I don't think we would have gotten Cyberpunk till like last year. I'll be honest with you.
Oh
Yeah.
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, for sure.
No Man's Sky. I love that game.
Yeah,
they
fixed it big time.
Dude, I was so sad when I bought it. I bought it on PlayStation 4, put it in. And I had been waiting forever for it. And then I looked, and I remember the same day I took it back to GameStop. And my wife knew I was so crushed because I was just like, this game, it's not what they showed at E3. It's horrible. And then I went back to it like a year, 2 years later, and I have been playing it ever since. And they keep releasing these updates to it, making it better and better. And I'm like, now I'm at the point of, I'll pay for it. It's because the updates are free.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I love that we have stories like that. So even though we do have like the money grabs and the buggy games that get released, we do have some examples in the industry where they're trying to make good by it. And I think that's important.
Yeah. I think that they definitely like that studio. I forget the name of the studio that makes it. It's
Hello Games.
Hello Games.
Yeah.
To me, they get a pass. And even like Square Enix with Final Fantasy 14.
Yep.
Right. I remember when Final Fantasy 14 1.0 came out, and I was so excited about it, being a Final Fantasy 11 fan. But I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is all the worst things about Final Fantasy 11 and no good things about modern games. But Square Enix could have cut their losses, but they instead made the game free, went back and rebuilt it from the ground up, and gave us, one of the best MMOs of today.
That's awesome.
So I do think that some studios get a pass. One thing that you mentioned, developers being lazy, and one thing that kind of irritates me is when developers use early access in a
Steam
bad
is
way,
huge
right?
on that.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna put this in early access for like 6 years.
It stays in development hell.
And I like that, not to cut you off, Keith.
No,
I like
you're
that,
good. Please.
You said that because that is like maybe saving money, or let's let them test it and them tell us about it.
We become the play testers, which is not bad.
It's not a bad thing, but
it's on the intent, I think, right?
You can take advantage of it.
Yeah, because like one example, and hopefully there's no fans of this, but like Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I don't know if you ever heard of this game. It was like this old EverQuest like game that everybody was really excited about. It's been in development for like 7 years, where they finally released it in early access and charged $40 for it.
That's ridiculous.
And I mean, it's not
great.
It doesn't even look like it's even close to even being complete. So
I'm glad you brought
running
that
out
up.
of money. So they're like, well, let's just release it and then call it early access so you can't get mad.
Well, and the other part is like, how much of that do you give them a pass because maybe they're an indie developer and maybe they are on a shoestring budget and you want to give them a little bit more leeway. But I think there's a weird fine line between that and then taking advantage of the consumer in that they become your QA and you don't have to spend money on beta testers anymore.
Right.
And now I'm sitting for years in early access. But what's funny, there are so many games, you go out on Steam especially, there are so many games that people are playing the crap out of for years and years and years on early access.
Baldur's Gate 3, right? To me, that's an example of early access done right, was Baldur's Gate 3. Because they only gave you the first act, and they're like, hey, based on this, give us your feedback.
Yeah,
because
they phased it.
Yeah. And then they released the game, and they ended up implementing, I think, a lot of the feedback that they got from just releasing Act 1. So to me, that's early access done right, in my opinion.
Agree. And then you have the outlier of Star Citizen.
I was gonna say.
Oh my gosh,
Doug and I
don't think that that's the longest running pyramid scheme in the history of gaming, in my opinion.
And it makes me sad because I just told
amazing.
you my roots is Wing Commander with Chris Roberts, who developed it, and then I love Privateer on PC. And this is supposed to be the spiritual successor of that. And Doug and I actually did a whole podcast where we had an interview, a friend of ours on, and he has invested. Doug, do you remember how much money did he invest?
He would not tell us, but I would say
I know it's
upwards of 10 to 15 grand.
I
think that's what he cued in on.
He hinted at it. He's a great dude, but he's all But what's crazy, what he pointed out to us is what's happened is there's now this subculture that's happened to where the subculture loves the bugs, and they're using them as exploits to become gods in the game. It's a weird scenario, but it's like that game's never going to get finished. They keep over promising, and then they just keep charging people more and more money. And it's an alpha. It's not even in a beta.
Yeah, I did a quick search, and as of April, they've raised over 800 million for their alpha. Not even beta, not even the
Right.
full product.
800
$800
million.
Yeah,
Dollars,
AAA
yeah,
games don't
Dude.
like. I wonder if that's higher than the budget for like GTA 6. What do y'all think?
Oh, we can
GTA
find that.
5, I think we just talked about it was $1 billion to make,
Oh,
right?
was it?
Was
I
it
mean,
really?
They made that back though. GTA 5 is so good.
I better fact check them.
I was gonna say better fact. I'm gonna check. Doug, you're not far. This is for GTA 6 though. It's rumored to be between 1 and 2 billion for GTA 6.
Okay.
Oh,
fair
that's
enough.
what it
Yeah,
is, not 5, 6.
Yeah.
6.
Now,
Okay.
5.
5 is 265 million if I have the right website.
Okay, that's probably about right for the
you
time.
raised 800 million, and a lot of people, a lot of people that I know that are really excited about Star Citizen were people that were real big fans of like Star Wars Galaxies, which unfortunately, I never got to play. But
It was good. Star Wars Galaxies was decent.
a lot of people that I know that are excited about that world, like Star Wars Galaxies players, and they're still waiting. And I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
they are. And I kind of, I invested. I think my top end, I've invested $75 into Star Citizen. I think I invested right at the ground floor, whatever year that was, 2006. I don't know. Maybe it was like a long time ago.
Has it been that long?
Well, let me look. Actually, again,
how long has it been?
Doug, you gotta do like a Joe Rogan on me here. I mean, Jamie, bring that up.
Yeah.
Jamie, what year did I invest?
I remember hearing about it a lot in like 2014, 2015, but I thought it was before that.
It came out in 2017.
2017. There you go.
Yeah.
So they did a Kickstarter. No, wait a minute. No, it was before. No,
I remember
initial
hearing
release
about it in
date?
like 2015, but I think they hadn't actually released anything. They were just showing like trailers. You could buy ships on the website or whatever.
It says early access started December 23rd, 2017.
I don't buy that because if I log into my account, because they did have a.
They were selling stuff long before
Here you
2017.
go. The Kickstarter started in 2012.
There it is.
Yeah. All right.
Because you're spot on. Because when I log into my account, I got a badge for being what they call an OG backer or something like that. And it has that date. I think it said 2012, 2011. Because I put in before that. And then 2012 is when you could first even slightly play. And then they actually did like an open release for alpha in 2017. Look at that timeline, dude. So 2012. 2012.
Well, it's funny that they give you early access for an alpha that's still an alpha.
Well, and they keep selling spaceships. It's like microtransactions. Like they just keep selling spaceships. Oh my god. Anyway, I don't want to get mad. But I have other games. I have other games that scratch that itch for me. People crap on Star Citizen. I think is a great game personally. Sorry, not Star Citizen. Doug, what am I thinking of?
Starfield?
Thank you, Starfield. The chip.
Yeah.
I have it right here.
I liked Starfield. People gave it a bad rap, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Did you play Outer Worlds, the first one? The Outer Worlds 2. It reminded me of that in a way, but Outer Worlds has kind of the funny stuff to it.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds felt more like Fallout to me in space.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I'm excited about
much.
that. We went down a
City
rabbit
made
hole.
New Vegas, so it kind of made sense, right?
It did.
That's the same.
They did a good job with that. So anyway, we went down a rabbit hole. Back on this topic. So we were talking about your origin story, how it came to be. Do you have a moment in which you realized where this is more than a hobby and it kind of became part of your identity? Meaning, I mean, your name's Zelda Hat Guy. So obviously you own a lot of Zelda hats, I assume. Like what moment did that happen? Like, was there a threshold you crossed? Point of no return?
Oh my gosh. It's hard to think of like a specific moment. I mean, it's growing up. I mean, my mom never gave me a lot of crap about playing video games because like it's better than what a lot of the other kids were doing.
She knew where you were. She knew where you were.
It was, yeah.
It's innocent.
I mean, not really any one specific moment. I would say like my whole childhood really. It was just that was the trajectory. The actual Zelda Hat Guy name actually is didn't come from me at all. It came from a coworker.
Really?
I worked on the help desk for the same company I work on now, at third shift help desk. And the first shift people would have to come and like do like turnover to us for any other ongoing tickets, and nobody on the first shift knew my name. So this girl who knew my name, they're like, go give this clipboard or whatever
to Zelda Hat Guy.
He's like, they said she said my name, and they were like, who? Like, it's the Zelda Hat Guy. So the guy comes around the corner, and they're like, I'm looking for the Zelda Hat Guy you. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I would be the Zelda Hat Guy. So it just stuck.
Dude,
that's a cool story.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Somebody who has no idea. And I run into that girl occasionally. And
really?
I'm like,
That's you.
You kind of are
I
part of my
know.
origin story.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
what?
really cool.
Yeah.
I love a good story for a gamer tag. So I mean, mine like I always stuck with. It was Havoc forever. I changed it to Pixel Havoc just because you find Havoc everywhere. But for me, it was because in my first job in IT, I was working for a university in higher ed, and I broke so many things. And they always said what they would do. They put me on tickets. They'd say, "Give it to Havoc," because I wreaked havoc everywhere. Like I almost burned a building down because I put a BIOS chip in backwards. I had a bunch. Do you remember the old Dell CRT monitors that were like 19
Yeah.
inch? They were huge. I had a whole bunch of them, brand new, and they were on this flatbed cart, and I was pulling it with a van across campus, and it hit a speed bump. All of them fell out, hit the ground, and I had to unbox them stupidly. So so many of them shattered. I can't tell you how much money that I,
Oh my
dude, I
gosh.
broke so much stuff like when my early part of my IT career. So they made fun of me when I was a student, and they'd always just say, "Oh yeah, give it to Havoc. He can't break that." So yeah, that's how I got. So that's kind of how my gamer tag came about, and then I just changed it to Pixel because anytime you go to do a search in a game, like everybody has like that common name. So I was like, well, I'm gonna throw something in front of it, so it seemed to be less common. Put a K at the end since my first name's Keith. Doug, I don't know where your Glockified came from. If you don't know, Doug's into law enforcement, so he's huge into like weaponry and that kind of fun stuff too. I assume that's what your origin is.
Mine came from teaching firearms. So I've taught 13, 14 years of firearms, concealed carry classes. Not to get any politicalness, but
Sure.
just Glockified is my name. I don't know. I tried to, like you, pick something that no one else had. You type in Xbox. I started on that, Glockified. Or I typed Glock. Everybody's got Glock, whatever. I
Yeah.
type Glock 2378 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, people about to get Glockified on Call of Duty. So
There you
that's
go.
There you go.
my story's not that cool, I guess.
No, I think it fits actually. I like it. So it's very unique. So all right, Doug, you get the next one, man.
Yeah. So you into games, you're into retro, you have a passion, but when did you start collecting? I guess, did you decide, okay, I'm gonna go from a gamer to a collector? Could you kind of tell us about that?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I was working I think I was working like a furniture warehouse or something, and there was a game exchange not too far. And we went to the place like next to it for like lunch. I went in there and started looking around, and I just seen that they were selling like old NES games, and I was like, man, this kind of takes me back. Like I still had my old NES, but it was in a closet. And I don't know, just looking at some of those games, and I remember when I was a kid, you remember the movie The Wizard?
Oh,
Everybody remembers that, where the guy with the power glove, where he opens
glove.
up that looks like what looks like some kind of lunchbox, and he's like, I have every NES game that's out.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that would be kind of cool. And thinking as a kid, that'd be amazing to have every NES game. And then from there, I started to just like slowly pick them up. And then, as you get older and you get a little bit more disposable income, like once I hit my 30s and started doing a little bit better, I started really like going, you know what? Maybe I really should really make a run at this and see if I can, get an entire NES set. And that was probably like 2017. And I finished in 2022.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I went through, I was reviewing your videos, and I saw that you had done a walkthrough, or you did a showcase when you completed your collection.
Very nice collection. Yeah.
Except for one, Doug.
Yeah.
If you remember, Doug, when we were at Como RetroCon, remember when we started the panel and Right Way was teasing him? Yeah. There's one that he has a European PAL version of, and it was stadium events. Now, was there one did you actually have it? I didn't talk to you about it. I should have asked you. Was there a US based one at the Como RetroCon?
Yeah. The guy was trying to sell me one. And it was one of those things where like, I was like, man, like I could probably afford it. Like, have to move some things around, as they say, but I was like, I just can't.
It's a lot of money. When you get into those 20, I was thinking like 5. 20. That's a car. Yeah. Well, maybe not nowadays. It's just so hard. It's a used car.
Was that one even graded? I can't remember.
It's just a cart.
What would it be graded?
People do it. People still do it. I mean, yeah. The few that people have tried to sell me over the years have been graded, besides that one.
Dang.
Because I'm looking at price charting. I'm doing some fact checking big time today. A graded one goes for $174,000.
Is that complete box or loose?
That graded in the box. Yep. So a loose price, ungraded, is $15,000.
Oh
So
my!
I mean,
So
he's
And that's based off the
close.
last that was sold on like eBay or
yeah,
sales we know about, right?
sure.
That's just
They
stuff
were
they're tracking.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were asking. I think they were asking like I think it's maybe 18 to 20.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Wow. Okay, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Now, if it seems weird that you've been listening or watching and all of a sudden we're acting weird, our platform, Riverside FM, keeps crashing on us about this awesome conversation, honestly. And so we got mad and we switched to Zoom. Oh boy, changes are coming. I'm going to tell you that. Now that I calmed down, I'm gonna do some meditation for a minute. While Doug, you take the next question, please, because I'm gonna just try to cool myself down.
Serenity now.
You know, we were talking before we so rudely got disconnected about digital only. And I think
Yes.
you're explaining that when some of these digital stores close, you lose some of your media. So if you wouldn't mind continuing that, and again, we apologize to everybody listening, everybody watching. We're definitely going to be upgrading soon.
Yeah. um, I'm not at all against, even as a physical collector, I'm not at all against digital. What I was kind of saying before is that if I had some kind of guarantee that I would always have access to this game that I bought, I could definitely see the benefit of digital. It's so much more convenient.
Yeah.
Like I have like, almost 100 Switch games, but I don't want to have to like try to pack try to pick 5 or 6 or X amount of games that I want to maybe play on a road trip, but I could just have access to all of them digitally. It's so much more convenient. But it goes back to, can you guarantee me that I'm always going to own this game? That I'm not going to have to rebuy it from you again sometime, down the road.
I think for me, like, and I've mentioned this before, is I agree with you. It's all about access, being able to have guaranteed access. Being a PC gamer, I game on everything, but being a PC gamer, I'm so used to Steam, and I can't think of a time where I bought a game in a Steam sale, by the way, going on right now, everybody, where I went back and it wasn't there.
Right.
I got to give Valve props for the retention aspect of, I feel pretty secure in my library hasn't gone away. Now there's always that threat long term. What if something happens to Valve and,
Right.
those stores? But after decades of using at least Steam, I've not lost anything. Now I'm going to go one step further. When I had my Nintendo Switch, which I sold it, and you and I, Zelda, we had this conversation about whether we were going to get a 2, and I'm still holding off.
Yeah.
Because I got rid of my Switch because I wasn't playing, it was collecting dust. But I had a combination of both cartridges and digital. I logged in I still have in the Nintendo store all the stuff I bought on digital there. So if I ever get a Switch, I can re-download those things.
Yep.
I'm less concerned about it simply based on, they could always yank the rug out from under you. That is a thing. But so far, my experience as a gamer with digital, same goes for my Sony store. Things I bought out of Sony. I'm not talking about Game Pass, because that's like, now Game Pass and my premium subscription I have for things go away. That drives me nuts to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You're in a window there, but I didn't buy it and have it in my library. So far, between the Sony library, I dare say it, even the Xbox, the very few things I bought, I haven't bought a lot on that, except 360. I actually still have all my old 360 games I bought, like Castle Crashers.
Oh, wow.
And so when I log into my Xbox, I still see you can play Castle Crashers, So I have yet to lose something I've purchased digitally or have it taken away from me. That gives me a little bit of a comfort of, okay, as long as they keep doing that and I have access to what I bought, and I would love, if possible, if, like, let's say Valve ever tanked, it would be so cool if they gave an option. All right, we're going to go bankrupt. Go download your library or give me a backup option. That'd be kind of cool. I doubt they'd ever do that. So that's my take on it. Doug, I don't know. Where are you at with this?
Yeah, I have switched from console to PC exclusively. So I had a 360, I had the Xbox One, I had an Xbox S for a little bit. I never really dabbled in PlayStation very much, but yeah, I've lost all of that because there is a Xbox Game Pass, but it's PC games. It doesn't,
Both.
unless I'm mistaken, you guys tell me, it doesn't allow you to play the console versions of it yet.
If you pay for it. So yeah, Game Pass Ultimate lets you whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
you
new
can.
since I have let it go.
It's
I
been
don't
a while.
currently have it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to get that because I've got my PC games, but I don't have from the 360 and the One and the S games. Yeah.
Yeah. If you pay for the Ultimate, then you get the Game Pass on both all the console and then also PC. So
perfect. Okay.
you get both. Now it is a little bit more expensive. I think like $20 a month or something like that. It's way cheaper for one or the other. I think it's $10 a month for PC only, and maybe even the standard for console. But yeah, you can do that now, and that is really nice that they do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I like
nice.
that.
very much so.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. We touched on that. I don't want to beat that dead horse too much because it's been a huge topic of conversation since Nintendo released the game cards. But overall, I'm not surprised. But it was really nice to kind of get your perspective on it, and I think you brought us some really good points on that. All right, so what do you think we lose or gain as physical becomes less common? You kind of touched on that. I know that's a follow up question. Outside of us not having the guarantee to play it, and I want to tie this into the secondary question, which is about as a collector, you go to conventions.
Hmm.
What do you think as we transition from physical to digital? What happens to the community? What happens to collecting? Do the prices go up because of supply and demand? What happens to cons? What is your crystal ball view of the byproduct? Because I know we've been arguing, like not arguing, but having a lot of churn on about whether I own the game, whether I can play it as a gamer. But what happens in the wake of that to the community and as a collector to cons? What's your take on that?
I, I think for like retro cons, I mean, I think those will still be fine. What I think ends up happening is what we see with physical editions is more going to be more like collector's editions. I think you'll see more companies like Limited Run
Yes.
start to do that'll be the future of physical, right? Everything will be digital except for these collector's editions of these popular games. I think some of the more obscure games you won't be able to find those at cons, and that could be a bit of an issue there. But your major games, I think, instead of just seeing a normal copy, you'll see the collector's edition or the limited run games version pop up at cons. I think that is what, as this generation and the next generation becomes retro, however many years in the future that becomes, I think that's what you'll start to see at cons, as far as retro of what is now will be
Yeah.
collector's editions.
And honestly, maybe it could increase the popularity of it because if it becomes more rare for
Hmm.
physical games and that sort of thing. It's so funny to me. I remember as a comic book collector, when digital hit, everybody said they were going to stop printing comic books. Like they were going to papers, it was all about digital. And what's fascinating, and I know they're not the same industries, but that didn't necessarily happen.
Right.
Like most people, they're still into the physical print comics, and that's what they collect. And now they may read digital. It almost reminds me of ROMs in a way. It's like they'll read the digital versions, but they'll collect the physical ones for their collection.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting. Now, those are different industries. I get that because technologies that play with it. But it kind of makes me wonder if we're going to enter that hybrid mode. Like you said, you're going to have companies like Limited Run. Honestly, I think it creates an opportunity for new
Very
companies
much
like
so.
Limited Run to build exclusive partners. I see a scenario where you could have a company that license with these companies to say, look, we will exclusively, the only physical version will be a collector's edition with all the cool,
Yeah.
and that's what
Mhm.
we do. I think it would be cool to start a company that goes and say, look, we'll take the overhead of the printing, all that stuff. You just give us the IP and we'll partner. You have sign off agreement on what we put in it, the statues or whatever, and then just work with us on how we can do a print. Now, the downside is if you have a PlayStation that is digital only, what you sell in a media for then at that point. So
Yeah, yeah. Then you're selling to people that are just interested in like what else comes in the box, right? Because there are
correct.
some games that I bought digitally and then bought the collector's edition just because I wanted the cool stuff that came in the box, like the statue or what
Yeah.
have you. So
Yeah.
I think if you make the collector's edition cool enough,
Yeah.
people, you can even get to the point where I know I talked about this on the Right Way podcast, how you give me a steel book and I don't have a game in it, like,
Yeah.
which really makes me angry. But if
Yeah.
you put enough cool stuff in there, I could probably get over it.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's true.
mean? So
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, they could capitalize on the merchandise, the merch aspect of it, and people will always go for that. So,
oh yeah, I mean, Limited Run does some really cool
they do.
stuff.
They
Some of their
do.
collection editions are amazing.
Yeah. The biggest
So
critique I've heard of them, it just takes a long time sometimes to
it
order
takes
order
a
fulfillment.
long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. 2
Yeah.
years usually from. I think it took me to get the Castlevania collector's edition or whatever when they did that. I think it was like a year and a half, maybe 2
Oh
years.
wow, that's a long
It's a
time.
while.
Jeez Louise. Cool. Well, Doug, I think you have a follow-up question on this one. I want you to ask because I think this is good. He put this in there. I think
Yeah. I just thought about this. I look at Keith's background, and he's got all kinds of things, kind of AI-ly game going on. That's not a real word, but anyway.
my fake collection.
Yeah, you look at me, I've got a couple things. I mostly have cats, what people watch for. But when we interview people, we look at the background. We don't just
Mhm.
look at the interviewee, and there's a lot going on. There's the passion, the stuff that you've worked so hard to collect, stuff that you've worked so hard to show up everybody else. So, with that being said, do you have stuff behind you? I'm looking, that's what I was looking at the whole time. It's like, what's in the
What's that
background?
statue? What's that? What's that?
Do you have something that this is like the thing that I've worked so hard to collect, or do you have anything that you want to show us real quick?
I mean, I showed you the test cart.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
really
pretty
earlier.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, one thing that I actually found this at Como. It's not in the shop, but I think I may have showed you guys when we were there. But I this lady did these like 3D
Oh,
prints
yeah. I
Oh, I
remember
saw
seeing
of
those.
those.
like
Yeah,
Mario, and
yeah,
most of the time when you see me, it's in
That's
a
cool.
backwards hat and a hoodie.
Yeah,
So I was like, okay, I have to get these. But yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
she only had two, and she had 3D printed them, and they've
See,
held up. I have them.
Did you get the
kind of over here
Luigi
in
one
my.
as well?
I did. I also have a
Yeah,
Luigi
awesome.
with the sunglasses.
nice. I see that sticking out there. Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember seeing those. I love those kinds of things. Yeah,
I thought that was kind of neat. I mean, it's not an actual game, but I think it's cool
sure.
that
No,
people
yeah.
would use their talent to print something like that. I was surprised that she had them the whole day.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
no one's
yeah,
tried to buy these. These are
I
amazing.
know. Well, was that your first year going to that con?
Yep, was my
Yeah.
first one.
So there was
Yeah.
a little bit of a transition that I think was good in that it kind of had a Comic Con feel in that you had crafts like that, people making
Mhm.
things and something. And I think that that was new for that year. And part of
Yeah,
me
it
wonders,
was.
I think a lot of the people that may have gone didn't expect to see as much merch or things like that because it was exclusively like it was games. Like there was
Yeah.
Mhm.
you might see somebody who went on and got some pins off Temu that they were reselling, but that's about it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like that was kind of new that year, and I loved it personally. I thought that
I
was
like it.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
like
no,
it
you're
as
good.
well because it's turning it in more to more of a con. This is more of
Yes.
a just not just video games. We got a couple people here. This is more of a con because you had the people making stuff. You had the little arcade section with the full cabinets. You had all kinds of stuff to turn us into a really, really good convention. And I think
Yeah.
it's the start. As long as they keep going with it, it's going to get better and better and better. You have growing pains. We talked about the roof was leaking and stuff, and
Yeah,
Sumner was on it. Sumner's like
yeah,
apologizing, but I think that's the start of a really, really good con in the middle of Missouri area.
yeah. We're hoping you're
I
able to
was
make it
just
up. It's an easy drive for you. So
yeah, it's not too far. The only thing that sucked about last time is we had to we got caught in a tornado. That was
oh,
not
I
great.
know it was bad weather. It was
Yeah,
bad weather.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
We had
good.
to take shelter in a Dollar Tree bathroom
Oh my gosh, that's
on the
so
way home.
Yeah.
scary.
It's,
Well, and that's a whole adventure on its own without a
yeah,
tornado.
I know. I know. Well,
not wrong. Yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen and you guys are on your next trek up. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking about your YouTube channel. You were talking about
Mhm.
how busy you are. You're working on your education, you got work, you just it's tough, but you're also doing the So Excited podcast.
Mhm.
If time and budget were not an issue at all, like
Okay.
just you get a pass on all resources, what kind of a dream project or video would you create? Like, what would you embark upon? And it could be anything, whether it's creative content creation or game related. Like, what if money were no object? What would be a passion project you would take on?
That is an amazing question. That is an absolutely amazing question.
And Doug's may lead into this one. He has a follow up one
You
that may lead
know,
into this. Yeah,
this is gonna be weird.
we like weird.
But I would love to do kind of documentary style
Mhm.
thing about one of two games, right? It would probably be the Destiny, just because of how much it means to both mine and
Yep.
Ness's friendship. But
Yep.
sometimes you just have those games that just
Stick. With you.
they just stick with you. For me, for the longest time, it was Final Fantasy 11, which is the first online Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Like that game, people that I met on that game, I still talk to this day. It got me through a lot of just
Yeah.
bad times in life, and
Yeah.
I've often found myself like chasing that experience. And I'd had this kind of idea to kind of do the same thing with Destiny, because me and Ness talk about it all the time. Like, man, I just wish that I could find a game that did what Destiny did. And I wanted to call it Chasing Destiny and
I
do
love
like a
it.
documentary
A doc.
about like, how, what the evolution of that game, where it is now, what it meant to us. You know, I even re-downloaded the original one to go back and play it a little bit to get footage for it. But I would really spend time to do like a 45-minute
Do a doc.
documentary.
I love it.
Yeah, I
About
would do something like that.
yeah, and it would transcend beyond just being about the game itself, but about its impact culturally and the communities that built around it and how it
Yeah.
influenced our life. I love it. I think it's a great pitch, man.
Or just how games in general, like
Yeah.
games can help foster relationships, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, me and him, we've gamed together for 20 years, and
Yeah,
you know, gaming
Yeah.
has really like brought that friendship.
That's cool.
It's turned our friend into family, right? So
Yeah, that's good. Wow, that's a good answer. All right, Doug, your follow up, man. Zing it.
Yeah, you know, we're all very busy. We all try to carve out time for these little projects, these little things we like to do. So, if you had some more time, what would be a hobby or a passion project outside of gaming?
outside of gaming, you know, I think I would really like to get into like woodworking.
Yeah.
Um, a gaming buddy of mine from back in the day is one of the actual Destiny people. He's kind of not stepped away from gaming, but he's even kind of like stepped away from his like normal job to really focus on woodworking. And some of the stuff that he makes is amazing.
That's
I think
cool.
that would be really cool to you know, invest in as a hobby.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, along that same line, I have to give credit to Keith, your brother, making that D&D table that we showed.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
he not necessarily woodworking, but putting all that together in that nice little wood cabinet was really awesome.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool to like branch out on those things. We've been getting into D&D lately. In our last episode, like I've been getting into
Mm.
painting miniatures,
Oh my
so-
gosh, yeah.
which that's a hobby you can go deep in.
That's a rabbit hole for sure.
It is. It is. So it is so funny though how so much of gaming is akin though to so many other things. I mean, we go to like Comic Cons. We'll go up to Kansas City Comics Con, and it's just so funny to see people cosplay as the different video game stuff, but then also like how so many things are connected to one another.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
D&D has
Yeah.
commonality with video gaming. And then even woodworking. People who do woodworking are making like really cool video game stuff.
Yes.
You know, like there's one dude I remember we saw at the KC Comic Con. He essentially made a wooden shell of an NES, and you could transplant the guts of the Nintendo into it, but it'd be a wooden case. But he had like lathed all of it and stained it. It looked gorgeous. So you basically could have a wooden NES that you would
That'd be
put
cool.
your stuff like that. Like you can
Yeah.
merge those things together. So all right, that's pretty cool. Well, everybody, we have fought through this, not because of Zelda's fault. He's an amazing guest. In fact, I'm mad because the conversation gets flowing and then our platform would just drop
Yeah.
us all from it. So we fought through this.
Yeah.
However, we are nearing the end of what we call our rapid fire questions here on the Wired Nerdy podcast. It's a staple of what we do. I don't know if you've ever seen Inside the Actor Studio before. You ever heard of that show? I don't know.
Yeah.
So they interview actors and directors, but something they always did at the very end of these interviews is that they do these rapid fire questions just to get to know the person better. Well, since we're all about geek culture, these 10 questions are rapid fire. They're all about geek culture. It's to get a sense of you. And you know, you can be as boisterous as you want, you can elaborate as you want, or you can be short as you want. The big thing is we just want to know your logic and why. There's no wrong answer. We're not trying to start any wars. There's a lot of people that have wars on this. So,
Oh man.
yeah,
Okay.
I know people have
All
strong
right.
opinions, right? So,
Yeah.
very first one on the rapid question, Doug, I'm gonna have you hit it.
Yeah, Marvel or DC, you know, that is the ultimate question. So, what's your thought?
For me is Marvel.
Hey, there you go.
Mostly
Yeah.
because as much as I've wanted DC to succeed as far as in the movie space, the MCU in the movie space is just so far ahead
better.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been some wins from DC. Like I really liked the Batman with Robert Pattinson. I didn't think I would love it. I thought I would hate it,
Mhm.
but I was like, you know what? All right, this is a good start. But
Yeah.
for me right now, it's the MCU by a mile.
That makes sense. But to hold out for Superman, okay? James Gunn. In James
fair.
Gunn, I
That's
trust.
fair.
So that's fair. We'll see what happens. But you are right. Definitely far more mature in
Yeah.
that space. That's hands down. You can't hold a candle to that. So that's a good one. Yeah, like it. All right, next one. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, come on, man. Oh no,
Mhm.
I have your Star Wars. It's
That's
close though. It's close. But
All right.
Star Wars. Star
Okay.
Wars.
Is there any
Yeah.
reason why you lean that way? I know you love both. I love both too. I love both too. So it's hard. That would be a hard one for me. So.
Honestly, the reason I'm playing Star Wars right now is because I played Magic the Gathering competitively for like 15 years or so, and
nice.
me and my Magic group have recently transitioned to the Star Wars Unlimited card game.
Yep.
So Star Wars has kind of been on the it's been on the forefront of my mind. So that's kind of what Star Wars for right now.
I do want to say you had a call out that I thought was really good. You did a video where you talked about what would be awesome games that should get a remake, and you called out Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
Dude, and I know they were working on that, but like you said in the video, we haven't heard anything, but that would be a great game to get remade.
Oh my gosh.
It really is
incredible.
Good. Yeah. All right, Doug. Next
now this has been a widely debated topic here, but Apple or Android? I mean, it seems like those two clans, those two groups are fighting back and forth all the time.
I'm gonna go with Apple. I hear a lot of people that are on the Android train that come in, like I could sideload ROMs and all this. I'm like, yeah, but my phone just works.
Yeah.
And
I don't get viruses.
Yeah, that and like, bro, like I mean, I'm an engineer, and I don't want to. When I come home, I just want myself to just work.
Yeah.
Right. I've been using my brain all day. I want myself to just work. Yeah. I don't want to have to do all this extra stuff.
Yeah, I would, dude, hands down, that would be my answer, because it's one of those things when you're in the tech industry, the last thing you want to do is fix your tech.
No.
Why? It's part of the reason why I'm so mad right now. Riverside, with this podcast, we've been having trouble. The last thing you want to do is troubleshoot something. And the thing is, I think a lot of Android users, and they're not wrong, they cite, well, it's so limited. The ecosystem doesn't let me do as much or have as much. And they're right. However, that's a strength to me because the closed ecosystem makes it more stable to me. And I just want it to work. I don't want to dilly-dick around with it. So I agree with you.
Yep.
Doug just made the switch, by the way. He was Android
I did, and
all the way.
I've still got a lot of apologies to make of all the hateful things I said.
He was bitter. He was a bitter little man.
I'm like, no, I'm
little
not
green
drinking
Android.
the Kool-Aid.
He's been eating crow ever since.
Now that I've had the Kool-Aid, I've sampled the software and everything. I love it. I dove head in. I've got the watch. I've got the iPad. I've got the iPhone. Because
he's in.
They all connect. It's like, holy crowd! This is what I'm missing.
Yeah,
and
when you see more.
Maybe I'm going to call myself out. I'm not calling Keith out. Maybe I'm getting old. I'm not throwing hate towards Keith.
Wait, what?
Maybe I'm getting old and I want the simpler things in life.
You know what?
It just works, and I don't have to work on it.
I'll take that, because a while ago, Zelda said he was born in 85, and that officially means I am the oldest. You were born in 82. Okay, I thought you said 80. Oh, you were talking about the crash.
Said the game came out in
yeah.
But it still doesn't change what I was going to say, man. I'm still the oldest.
Hey,
I was born in 80. I was born in 80.
There we go.
I'm still the youngest here.
Doug's a baby. Doug's a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's that millennial bringing it up. We're on that edge of Gen X. We're in that transition period. So, all right. Anyway, next rapid fire question. You are stranded on an island. If you could take only one video game with you on that deserted island, which would it be? We're just going to assume you have solar power for electricity.
But I don't have an internet connection, right? Obviously.
I'll give it to you. Why not?
Yeah.
You got Starlink. Why not? Why not?
You know what? Give me Super Mario Maker 2. Give me Super Mario Maker 2.
That's actually.
I could just basically have access to infinite amount of Mario levels.
Dude, actually,
I like
great
that
answer. That's really good.
We get good answers every time we do this.
Oh man, all right. And they're always new answers. So I love about it. Like you always learn something new, not just about the person, but things like, oh crap, I didn't think of that. Excellent job.
Now, this next one is one of my favorite rapid fire questions because it can go any way. I mean, it just goes all over the place. What is your favorite technology? And I'm not limiting you to anything. Just what is your favorite technology?
That's a great question.
As you think of that, I'm a fan of escalators and sliding doors and elevators and stuff.
Air conditioning.
Yeah.
My favorite technology, golly.
These are hard, man.
That's a tough one. There's so I have like a million answers flooding my head. All right, you know what? I'll tell you, my favorite technology. I'll say this: my favorite technology to use at work is GitHub.
Oh, very nice. All right, the repository for software, man. That's awesome. Okay, I like it. He leaned into the work thing. All right. Next one: fictional universes. If you could be dropped into any fictional universe from books, comics, movies, video games, which one would you choose, and what role would you want to play there?
Oh, these are amazing questions. These are great questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, these are really good questions. Okay. Um. Wow. What fictional universe? I think it would be neat to be in the well, be I think it would kind of be neat to be like in the Skyrim universe until a giant like spider attacked me. But
No, that would suck. That would
I
suck.
think it would be awesome to be the I think it'd be awesome to be the head of the Thieves Guild in the Skyrim universe. Let's do
Oh,
that. Let's do
nice.
that.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And you get your skill sets up. You can go take care of them spiders real quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right, like it. All right, Dougie. you're up.
Yeah. Your favorite hero and villain, and we've heard you talk about Marvel, but you don't have to stay with Marvel. Your
Anything.
superhero. What superhero do you admire the most, and what villain do you find the most compelling?
Wow, what superhero do I admire the most? Superhero that I admire the most. That's a great. These are some really good questions,
We're
man.
trying to make you think here, man.
These are
Trying to
some
make you think.
great questions.
Sometimes these questions can launch major debates amongst people. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I think the superhero. I'd probably honestly, even though I said mentioned like Marvel, probably like Batman,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And here's why: like you're rich. Like the problems of the world really don't affect you as much because you're rich and you choose to
That's cool.
spend your time trying to like help people instead of
All right.
instead of just sitting up in your castle on high, not caring about the issues of the little man. You dress up like a bat and go beat people up pretty viciously. That's a little
Yeah.
weird, but
That is-
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate the thought, right?
Okay.
And a compelling villain, and honestly, MCU Thanos was really compelling to me. I've always found the villains that their reasoning that's not just because they want to be evil. Like Thanos had a real reason in his mind. He thought he was right. What he was doing was the right thing to try to save everybody. I always thought that was compelling. So I'll go with like MCU Thanos.
So I'm gonna go deep here. Did you read any of the Thanos comics versus, or is your main exposure Infinity War and Endgame from Disney? Like
My main exposure is definitely, I know that he's a much different in the comics than he is.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with death in the
Bingo.
comics more so than trying to like balance the world and save everyone from mass extinction.
they
So that's why I
deliberately
said
made.
MCU
Yep.
Thanos explicitly.
I see. Yeah, they leaned into him in the resource thing and trying to save the universe and made him a bit more of an archetype. Where in the comics, you are spot on. He falls in love with what's called Lady Death. She's
Lady
basically
Death.
she's
Yeah.
death, and he wants to impress her. And by taking all of those people, like killing them, he's hoping that would impress her. So he does it for love. Oh, isn't that sweet? So, but no, I like what Disney did. I'll be honest with you. I think it resonates
Yeah.
better. I really do. So just a fun fact. All right, next one. And this will be interesting because of your location. Artificial intelligence. Do you think the future of AI will be Star Trek or Skynet?
I'd like to think Star Trek.
You want
I'd
it
like
to be Star
think
Trek.
Star Trek.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna be optimistic and just say Star Trek.
I love that.
I'll
As a
just say that.
cybersecurity guy, that makes me feel
I'm
so
gonna
much
be
better.
optimistic.
Because I'd be scared if he was all negative, Doug, and he's like, "Oh my God, we're all gonna die." I'd be like, "Oh, jeez."
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's good.
We love video games, everything. Maybe not the Atari, but all the way to the Switch
Yeah.
2. So thinking of that entire range, what is your favorite video game console boot up menu screen? Like when you first push the power button, when that puppy's coming on, what do you like?
I'm gonna go with the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
I didn't hesitate.
I
Well,
the
no
PlayStation 1, that
hesitation
sound
at
is
all.
so iconic.
The Sony Entertainment
Yeah.
with the diamond and the cool. Yeah.
PlayStation 1 for
Yeah.
sure.
All right. That's a good one. He didn't even hesitate. It was
Nothing,
funny.
yeah.
Ness struggled on that one for a little bit, and then
Interesting.
yeah,
He didn't just snap say Neo Geo.
it did not. I have to go back and look what he said. I'll have to go back and look what he said. But I don't think he did. I don't think he did. He thought he would, but
Yeah.
All right. Our last one to round out. What personal superpower would you like to have and why?
What personal? I'd love to be able to just to teleport because I hate traveling.
Just
Yeah,
like that. That'd be
nice.
cool. All right.
I hate traveling
Well,
sometimes.
to be fair, I mean, when you get stuck in a Dollar General bathroom because of a
Yeah,
tornado, I
yeah,
can see why you don't like
yeah,
traveling.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's triggering there.
It's a good answer. I like it. Awesome.
Teleport for sure.
Well, this has been a wide-ranging conversation. We want to, number one, thank you on a lot of fronts for your patience with the technology problems that we've had. But this has been a great conversation, and we would absolutely love to have you on. Please let everybody know. We're going to plug the heck out of you, but let us know, where can people find your content, more about you? Where can they see you?
I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch as Zelda Hat Guy. So pretty easy. If there's a
We'll have
Zelda
it in
Hat
the
Guy
show
on the internet,
notes.
it's me. Yeah.
Cool. We'll have it in the show notes. So other than that, man, this has been a great conversation. You are family. Like to us, you are a great friend. We want to have you back on at some point.
Yeah, love it.
We'll just make this a thing, just a Midwest podcast kind of thing. We're kind of centrally located, so it makes it easier.
Yeah.
So Doug, what am I forgetting anything? Help round us out at the close of this.
No, I think it's great. Again, sorry for the apologies. Definitely check out Zelda Hat Guy. Check us out. Merch store. We got to pay some bills. Keep the lights on. We got
Change
to
our
switch.
platforms.
We're switching. But thank you to all the fans. Thank you to everybody. Like I said, we are just talking about the things we love, the things we love to do. So keep listening. Thank you.
Well done. Everybody have an awesome week. We will see you next week. Zelda, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate you,
it.
bro. And we're looking forward to having you back on again soon.
Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.